Hi, I'm Chris, and I'm an urban farmer. I spent the last 10 years traveling the world in search of a better food system.
It's good.
In Growing Well Season 1, I explored how to bring food and nature closer to people. Plant in the seeds, you can definitely eat the flowers. In Season 2, I rediscovered the culture in agriculture. Along my journey, I've met many inspiring kindred spirits.
We have to come up with smarter, cleverer ways to grow good food.
We want to introduce a sustainable model for aquaculture industry.
This season, I've got a crazier, bigger, bolder idea. I want to grow food in and on water. And I'm calling this chapter Project Castaway. Hi friends, I'm Chris and I'm the guy who is heading this project called Project Castaway. So I'm here at ITE College East and I'm here to give the students my project briefing and recruit my superstar team. If you read the recent news, there is a potential chance that by 2100, about 20% of Singapore will be flooded. Okay, so with climate change, sea levels are going to rise. Everybody in our region will be affected. So that got me thinking, can we adapt with this new scenario? And instead of having that fear, we create solutions for that. So I'm a farmer, and this is what I'm most interested in. So can we adapt the food growing part of things with this rising sea levels? Can we grow on water? Can we grow in water? To be honest, I'm extremely nervous about this project. It feels like it's a bit of a big undertaking, and I'm not sure whether I'll be able to accomplish everything that I've set out to do. So this is our goal, this is our mission. We need to design and innovate a modular system that can grow food. Okay, it can be on water, in water, a mix of both. I don't know exactly how it's going to look like yet. And ultimately, I'm forming a team. I can't do it alone. So who's going to join me?
Maybe cannot do. I never built anything before, like without an instruction manual.
It's gonna be like hard and difficult, but it's gonna be interesting at the same time.
I foresee that the biggest challenge will be the salt water.
Honestly, if we manage to achieve it, it'll probably make the next generations better, to give them a better future to live in.
I kind of want to get my hands dirty in this and try to explore, expand my knowledge a bit also.
One! Oh my god! Okay, all of you want to join me? Okay, that's good. Even with the ITE students on board, I know I'm going to need more hands on deck.
The driving factor for the Long Island was actually climate change.
That's why I'm also enlisting the help of some future landscape architects from NUS.
The question is how to optimize the scale between urban life and food production.
These students are already reimagining Singapore's future coastlines.
We are thinking a lot bigger. We want it to be along the shoreline of Singapore.
They are tackling Long Island, Singapore's ambitious plan to adapt to rising sea levels, which was announced in November 2023.
The government has 3 different functions for the Long Island project, which is as a coastal defence, as a recreational space, and as a residential space. However, we feel that there is this untapped potential of Long Island, which is to solve another issue that Singapore is facing, which is food security. We have this goal to produce 30% of our nutritional needs by 2030.
Project Castaway is an ambitious undertaking, so I'm giving myself a year to research and execute it. Along the way, I'll be getting help from like-minded innovators.
Anyone want to guess what kind of plant we are growing here? Singapore's favorite vegetable. In almost every restaurant there's this vegetable. Yes, kangkong, right? So this is kangkong.
So today is the first time I'm bringing the ITE and NUS students together, and we're going to attend a workshop.
So if you see over here, right, this is actually the chinampas, right? At the bottom, we have yet to see a lot of roots coming out, but I think over there, nearer to Chris, I think there's a root that's coming out. So over several months, the roots will start to grow even into the water. As you can see here, the water is fresh water. But imagine if this to be salt water, then it'll be a very different story, right?
Ibna runs an innovation lab for social and environmental good, and he has an idea about how to make my plants float out at sea.
So what we are going to do next, right, is we're going to create a two-tiered system. The top module will be where the growing medium is. The bottom module is where we will actually store fresh water. Where do we get this fresh water? When it rains or when we top up, right? Or when we water the plants, right? We will have this reservoir, right? So what happens is that we are going to again use physics, right? Water is going to evaporate, right? And it goes through the soil and make the soil more moist. That's the hypothesis. I might be wrong, I might be right. Yeah, hence the experiment. The chinampas, or floating gardens, is an ancient technique, right? This is in Mexico. So what they did was, they actually started to pile up, layer by layer, right? Reeds, fibers, mud, reed fibers, mud, reed fibers, mud, a bit like kueh lapis like that, right? All the way till the top of the water surface, and then they start to grow their food above it. If you were to go to Mexico today, the chinampas has existed for at least 200 years and is still fertile today. What we will do now, right, each person take 4 bottles. It's called the LC method. So this is the L.
The purpose of the workshop is to get their hands dirty.
The C is around the cat.
To help them to understand the idea or concept of a floating farm. You look like having fun.
I think it's a good idea because it's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's a good way to actually use our plastic waste as a useful product.
The next step is what we call the double bond.
I think I'm very worried what happens if the bottle leaks.
Yeah, you got a point about like the degradation of it.
I don't think it's gonna work.
You don't think it's gonna work? Oh, that's so brutal.
I don't know if the tape like...
Doesn't keep it together.
So we did try with many different kind of tapes. Somehow masking tape managed to survive.
Oh my gosh, it's so strong.
Yeah, it is strong.
Giselle, you try. Okay, so now do you think that it'll fail?
Okay.
Maybe not, maybe not.
Maybe not, right? So right now, all of us, including myself, are very green.
The base is where the soil and all the different substrate would sit.
So over the next few months, we're actually really going to go through all these experiences to help us to increase our knowledge.
Realistically, we have to think of a way to scale it up. This alone is probably not enough to have the yield that we are looking for.
So I've gotten a mix of different culinary herbs. We've got pennywort, mint, laksa leaf. I got the plants that generally love water. Originally, the idea for this is to grow these on fresh water, and it currently exists out there. You can see like wetlands that use these technologies. So I'm trying to get the students to understand the concept of this and then apply it into the sea version, where we might have to make some modifications to the freshwater version of this floating platform. When it came to the launching of the prototype, I had a big shock. 1, 2, 3. It didn't float as the way we wanted it to be. We need more cable ties, please. Ah! It's collective. I feel like it's very, very unstable. You know, it was lopsided, and man, it was just really, really a nervous moment for me. All the students are like looking at me like, oh, the cable ties.
Yeah, the cable ties are like putting it down.
Oh my goodness, is this gonna fail? Come here, we're gonna bring it back on shore.
Okay.
Sorry, this failed.
Okay.
So
First deployment failed.
I just really hope this doesn't happen in open sea. It's gonna be a big disaster. And I'm actually a bit worried because, I mean, something simple as this already has a lot of challenges. Are you trying to make it like super tight?
Yeah, I'm trying to make the base tight together. Can I get one more black?
I think it got the students to think a little bit more about what needs to be done to improve this project.
Oh wait, pause. This one will make it sink. Hold on.
And what it takes to build a good final floating platform. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Thankfully, we managed to salvage it, and it floats for now. Right.
Alright. It's physics, people. Yep. So yeah, it seems like it's not that bad, right? So it's like.
So it's not perfect, I know, but it's a start. So we're gonna leave this here for a while. So this will pretty much just be rainwater fed. And we're gonna see whether the reservoir works. So we're only at the very early stages of the project. The whole entire project now seems very daunting to me, so I'm a little bit worried, to be very honest. Okay, so the haters, hey, it works. Barely, but it works. Yeah, thank you. Despite being one of the smallest countries in Europe, the Netherlands has always been at the forefront of agricultural innovation. And given that a third of the country is below sea level, they are constantly thinking about how to not just survive, but thrive under these conditions.
What I'm most interested in though is their mindset. They're giving sustainable agriculture some serious thought, and I'm hoping we can transfer some of this knowledge back to Singapore.
Times are changing and we need to change our perspective. We need to look at the future in a more collaborative way with nature. Seeing nature more as a foundation of our society instead of something that you can profit from. I learned how to build the strongest dikes and how to build the biggest pumps. But due to climate change, we're facing the limits of that way of thinking. Nature determines what we can do and not man.
Yeah, it's a lot easier, I think, to work with nature.
I think so, yeah, but it requires really a fundamental change in thinking.
Yeah.
We do have some time, but it requires all our efforts, us as scientists, but also the policymakers and the people deciding, and society as a whole, to be open and willing to adapt to change.
So that brings me to like my project. I mean, I've been actually thinking along the same lines as you on how do we adapt to these new conditions. I wanted to design a floating platform, sort of a floating farm that can adapt with the sea level rise. And I'm thinking of growing things both above water, both crops and potentially livestock, and things below water, like aquaculture.
I'm very thrilled by the thought. I think it's very interesting. Obviously, it should not be that the sea will become a new kind of monoculture production site. With the lessons learned, we can have diverse production systems which are ecologically sustainable and also add something to the environment there. Yeah.
Aryan has asked me to imagine a more ecologically sustainable farm, something I'm completely aligned with. But what could this look like in practice on Project Castaway? To find some answers, I'm going dredging for oysters with someone who has been studying them for 38 years.
So we are going to visit a bottom culture plot, and these plots are marked with these trees, as you see here. You can see that one standing over there.
Oh, kind of random, but it's a like affordable way to mark it. Yeah. The oysters, are they in like cage?
No, they are just single oysters on the bottom.
Oh, yeah. They're just everywhere, like on the seabed.
Yeah, but then in between those poles, so the farmer knows which plot is his.
So wow, I always thought they have to be in cages.
Not here, no.
You know, as a farmer, I've been thinking of different ways to grow seafood or aquatic life more sustainably. Do you have any suggestions on what makes a more sustainable approach?
Well, I think farming shellfish is really a sustainable way of food production, because it is what we call a low-trophic aquaculture, which means that they are really at the bottom of the food chain and they get their food from the surroundings. If you compare this to fish farming, fish always need to be fed in the cages. Food is added. And for shellfish, you don't have to add any food. It's already there in the water. These tiny microalgae that they feed on.
Wow. So Pauline, are we doing enough low-trophic aquaculture in that case?
Not at the moment, I think. No.
For fish, are the main thing that we thought, right?
Yeah, fish is the main. And I think it also has to do with the consumers. The consumers are used to eating fish and they're not so used to eating other species like shellfish or seaweed, specifically in Europe.
Oysters are big, no? Like French oysters, they're very, very known.
It's not a staple food. The French eat oysters in certain times of the year and then they eat a lot of oysters, but they don't eat oysters weekly, I think.
I see.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, like, if everybody ate mainly oysters and mussels, like, in their diets, is there going to be any negative thing?
I think it's a very healthy food.
Yes, I would.
It's a low fat level and a high protein level.
Right, right. Oh wow, what? Fresh oysters now?
Yeah,
let's eat it.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky. Oh, this is as good as it gets. Perfect. Oh man.
We have to collect some oysters to take with us to the lab. So we put them in this plastic bag. It has the date and the location on it.
Okay.
And then it goes into the cool box.
How can you tell whether like this load is healthy or not healthy? Can you just tell just by
yes,
what's around?
well, you can see here they have these growth lines, which means that they're healthy, they're growing.
Yeah.
They first make new shell and then they expand the meat in the shell. I think we have enough for our put this in the cool box.
Woohoo!
Are different oysters resilient to different climatic environments?
Yes, that is a nice question because I studied the optimal temperature for growth for two species of oysters. This one, the Pacific oyster, that originally doesn't come from the Netherlands, and the flat oyster or European oyster, which is the native oyster. And my expectation was that this species, coming from Asia, would like warm water better than our native species. But the opposite was true.
Oh.
The native one likes to grow at higher temperatures better than this Pacific one. So they like warmer temperatures than we actually have at this moment, which is good news in the face of climate change.
Yeah. How am I doing? I feel like I've not made any progress at all.
Just do a final check and then I think we can weigh them.
The barnacles are a real pain. It's so difficult to remove them. Pauline, is there a way to know which shellfish are going to be more resilient in the future?
Well, that's difficult, but we in this same European project in which we did the experiment with the temperature, the CEDES project, we also worked with modelers, and they run different climate scenarios. So first the climate scenarios were developed, and then we used those climate scenarios to find out what will happen with the growth of the shellfish. And from that we learned that oysters will grow better than mussels in the future. But what will also happen is that there will be longer periods that the oysters are susceptible to disease. So the mortality will also be higher. So
there's no perfect solution in a way.
No.
Yeah. 49.4.
Now that I've gotten the lowdown on oysters, I have two new questions. Should I be looking at other shellfish? And how should I go about integrating all my aquaculture into one farm? Instead of giving me a lecture, marine ecologists from Wageningen University, one of the world's top-rated universities in the field of environmental science, have invited me to be their intern for a day.
Oh, found one.
Right. Cockles, they are filter feeders, and together with the mussels, they can filter the whole Wadden Sea in just 1 week.
The whole Wadden Sea?
The whole Wadden Sea. It's impressive. Can grow 5 centimeters. And now these are the young cockles because they have still a lot of growth potential. So we can really monitor the growth of the cockles properly.
Yeah. So these are only like maybe 2 centimeters. So they grow double, at least double the size.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
They can live up to 7 years. I think we can see that there is a good catch for today. They are all still alive.
Yeah.
So we count them, how many there are, and then we place them back. And in 6 weeks we will recount them, how many are then still alive.
The purpose of this reference plot is to check the survival rate of the cockles in nature and compare it to the survival rate of the cockles in the raceways, which are artificial channels used in aquaculture.
With some of the raceways we have seaweed, we have shrimp, and we have cockles. And at the other raceways we just have cockles. So we have the monoculture of the cockles, and we also have the integrated cultivation.
Trying to catch some shrimp. They're right at the bottom of the net right now. There you go.
We measure zooplankton because it's a food source for the shrimp.
Yeah.
The shrimp eat from zooplankton, and the zooplankton can eat from the phytoplankton. But by introducing shrimp in the system, you have more phytoplankton. And this means that there is more food available for the cockles. And in turn, the cockles consume the phytoplankton. So there's less competition with the seaweed for nutrients, so better growth for seaweed. So we're seeing if this integrated growth stimulates a better production. In the Netherlands, due to sea level rise, you get saltwater intrusion. So here, in this specific spot, we are trying to see if we can find an alternative land use practice, because the conventional way of doing agriculture is not sufficient anymore. Of course, you also have the increasing food demand, and people want to have food that's more sustainable, so that's what we do here.
I feel like I've been stuck in there for years. Oh, coffee time. It's so cold.
Today's experience has really shown me how much more thought I need to put into the aquaculture side of Project Castaway. There's a lot of science I need to wrap my head around and fast. But right now, I think I deserve a small break.
If you put like the hinge mechanisms of the cockles to each other, and then you can twist the other one open. And my hands are a bit frozen.
Okay, I get what you mean about having frozen fingers and not being able to do anything.
Look, this one opens really nicely.
Oh wow, look at that. What a beauty. Nice. Okay, I'll put these guys back.
Bon appetit.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
The island of Texel isn't just a good testing ground for aquaculture, it's also the perfect place to experiment with saline agriculture.
Yeah, I found one.
Asparagus
on salt water.
Oh my gosh. Oh
You are.
my gosh. So you're covering it to keep the whiteness.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a big spider in there.
Yeah, there's a big spider.
I'm eating some cobwebs. Ooh. Oh my gosh. This, I swear, is the best asparagus I've tasted in my life.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
Oh.
The interesting thing is we test here plants, kill plants.
You kill plants?
Yeah.
And why do you kill plants?
We test as much plants as possible. We do that as much as possible. And then we can select the kind of crop that can grow under salt conditions.
Oh, yummy.
And then the interesting question is, are they edible? Are they nice? Tomatoes get a very nice taste.
So essentially, all these lines, you put different amounts of saline water in them.
Yeah,
And then you just test as many plants as possible.
Yeah.
And you see what survives.
Yeah.
And then these are the ones where potentially you can use to grow in different salt-tolerant conditions all around the world.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
This is like too good to be true. I mean, I thought salt would just kill plants. But then I see so many plants growing that are thriving, and plants that I'm kind of familiar with, like there's leek over there, there's kale, ooh la la, radish. I know this guy, I grew it in my garden too. Looks a bit sad though, like it's a bit yellow.
Yeah, they're they're not happy radishes, but they taste.
Oh my god. It's actually very sweet.
Yeah, it gets sweet.
Yeah, normally it's spicy and bitter.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding, this is sweet, it's juicy.
Yeah, so aromas gets bigger if they are grown on salt.
And like, just an idea, like how much salt is in this pipe?
It starts with 6 till 8 daisy Siemens.
Daisy Siemens.
But it builds up. So in the end, if I don't get enough fresh water, then it's 20 till 22. Then they all die.
Soil salinity is measured in decisiemens per meter. Non-saline soils range from 0 to 2 decisiemens. Moderately saline soils come in between 4 to 8, and extremely saline soils are 16 and above.
From cauliflower or from broccoli or from radishes or from strawberries even, there are varieties who can stand salt. For potatoes, we can grow them with half seawater.
But if the ratio of seawater to freshwater goes beyond 50%, what Mark has found is that many vegetables are unable to survive.
So this is the water that you're supplying to the plants?
Yeah, you can. It
is salty.
It's salty, yeah.
So what really struck me was that Mark actually managed to successfully grow common vegetables like tomatoes and cauliflower in the same area as coastal plants. I was mind blown that no one has really thought about growing saline crops.
On the whole world there is 1.5 billion hectare salt affected land. It's important for the rest of the world in the coming 4, 5, 10 years to know something about which plants are salt tolerant and which plants aren't.
It's like eating a watermelon.
Yeah.
It's so juicy.
Yeah.
I just have so much inspiration from this trip, and relating back to Project Castaway, I feel more inspired to actually use saline water more confidently.
In the Netherlands, I learned about adapting conventional crops to saline conditions. But there's another group of plants that I want to look at, These are called halophytes, or plants that naturally inhabit saline environments. Here in Portugal, they are locally cultivated and consumed. I'm here with the growers in my team, Sham and Wei.
Wei, are you crying?
Yeah.
Crying already?
Yeah.
And I've reached out to my chef friends, Sop and Ricardo, to learn about this halophyte called Salicornia.
What's the Portuguese name for this dish?
Arroz de limão com robalo.
Okay, I can't pronounce that.
Sounds good.
Basically, lemon rice with sea bass. We want this quite saucy, so I'm gonna put all my stock, and then at the end we're gonna top it off with some Salicornia, which is the halophyte we're gonna be using for my dish.
So you're actually using a vegetable, sort of a vegetable, to replace salt.
Not completely, but you can get that same flavor.
There's a bit of grape, like grape skin.
It's juicy.
Yeah, it's mildly salty. It's not like
Not super
like
salty.
in your face. Yeah.
It exists for centuries now, but the reintroduction to the Portuguese culinary scene is recent. In the industry, for restaurants, hotels and whatnot, it has been like a noticeable shift.
Okay, let's get some Salicornia up there.
You see it in a lot of dishes, but for the overall public, not so much. It's still harder to find everywhere. Nice.
Cheers, everyone. Please begin.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming.
We cooked 2 dishes today. The first was a seafood rice stew, and the second dish was a salted egg yolk clams dish. Both dishes had halophytes in them, mainly used as a garnish rather than as a main ingredient of the dish. Back in Singapore, the only times I've seen Salicornia being used is in more fancy European restaurants.
Yes, exactly.
Do you find Salicornia or halophytes in the region?
In Southeast Asia, not exactly. Yeah. So far, I have never come across. I would only come across in this part of the world.
You also need to keep in mind that you need the proper environment for the halophytes to grow naturally. And that's where the Portuguese halophytes come from. They grow here naturally.
So as chefs, do you see that climate change is affecting the ingredients that you're getting?
100%.
Yep. Exactly.
I can tell you, for example, olive oil is one of our biggest exports. It's our main fat to cook. Last year, about 70% of the crops got destroyed due to climate change. Freak storms, hail, just destroyed everything. Like 1 week to the next, gone.
Yeah.
The problem is like the future when you're looking at, long term, right? You can always pivot, you can always improvise, but at some point, if all the other options are gone, like what do you do, long term? Yeah. Is this sustainable? Is this viable?
With Ricardo's words in mind, we decided to hunt down some Salicornia producers to see if it's possible for us to grow it in Project Castaway. Also known as glasswort, sea beans, and sea asparagus, this plant can be found along many coastlines across Europe. One of the pioneers in Salicornia farming can be found here in the city of Aveiro, home to the Ria di Aveiro, a coastal lagoon with one of the largest continuous salt marshes in Europe.
We start growing Salicornia as a family project to save our salt marsh from the erosion. These salt marsh are part of our heritage. We founded Horta dos Peixinhos in 2015, so almost 10 years to prepare this soil. We start to study the Salicornia with the biologists, with the Portuguese University from Aveiro, and we have also an agriculture engineer that works to us and manage the preparation of the soil every day. So we can go there, down, and show you.
So I guess from the start, it's something new, something innovative, right? Nobody has done it before.
No.
So now we go calculate the pH.
Is enough?
Can you read out the conditions, the parameters?
So now it's 5.17 pH.
Is this water here full saline water?
It's the rain and the salinity water.
We have water gates, and we open that for the irrigation. We open again when the tides are down, and the water comes from here and running away to the ocean again.
So these fields are purely irrigated by salt water?
Seawater in this case, yeah.
So there's no need of fresh water at all?
We don't need that fresh water.
So that's a very sustainable way to farm, actually.
Yes, indeed.
It's a very low maintenance
Yes.
crop, and you don't even have to put additional nutrients or fertilizer.
No. We don't use fertilizer and even pesticides.
It's incredible.
Yes, 100% sustainable.
How many times can it be harvested? Yeah,
Once a year. So Salicornia grows between the months of June until around October, which is when we start the harvest. Once per year.
Most important learning point is every species has its most suitable environment and ecosystem. So I think it is important to make a detailed research about the site. What's the temperature, what's the salinity, and what kind of ecosystem it has. And then I will start to choose what kind of plants is suitable to grow and what can be successfully grown.
Do you have any plants similar to Salicornia, or you have Salicornia in the...
From what I know, in Southeast Asia we do not have something similar that is edible. So we are trying to find ways we can actually have something similar in Southeast Asia.
Though it's only April now and not really harvesting time, Julia and Julio from Horta da Ria Salicornia Farm have offered to show us the ropes, just in case we decide to grow the plant for Project Castaway. So how do we harvest them? Where do you harvest from?
We select the more tender part, so the first 7-6 centimeters of the Salicornia.
So about finger length? It's good?
Yeah. If we cut it a little bit more down, what we have is like with that...
Fiber. Very tough.
Yes.
Okay.
This is not well when people are eating fresh, so the restaurants like more the tender parts.
Yeah.
So that's why we do it with the scissor. We select the plant in here.
There are a lot of other allopathic crops around here. Why do you choose to grow Salicornia instead of other plants?
Salicornia grows more than the others. The market also asks for Salicornia. Portugal is starting now, but in UK and the Nordic countries, they use a lot Salicornia and fresh Salicornia. Also, we are trying to dehydrate the plant, and so the product, instead of during 20 days, will during 2 years now. But it's another product, no?
Yeah.
It's not a fresh, take it like pepper or something like that, with a salty taste.
Other than Salicornia, there are other wild halophyte varieties flourishing right here in the Ria di Aveiro, which is 10 kilometers wide and 45 kilometers long. We are with Anna, who specializes in the ecology of coastal ecosystems, and she's bringing us to the salt marshes and lagoons to show us edibles that are naturally occurring.
We are facing the Atlantic, but actually we are on the edge of the biogeographical region of the Mediterranean. So it's also influenced by the Mediterranean climate.
Anna, so are halophytes, climate resilient?
Actually, halophytes, by being intertidal plants, they have to tolerate by nature a big range of not only salinity, but also temperature. They are exposed twice a day to high tide, so they will be submerged and they will be exposed to the sun. So this is a very big temperature range. In summer, we can have 30 degrees. During winter, they are also exposed to lower temperature. So they really have to be resilient and cope with these changes. Climate change could also influence the amount of fresh water that come into the system. If you have a flood event, for instance, from the river, it can happen, but they also can cope because they also grow in fresh water. This is eatable, Alimion portulacoides. This is called in Portuguese gramata branca, and it's this whitish color because it's the salt.
It has a bit like the texture of a bay leaf, but a little bit salty.
Yeah, it's salty.
It tastes like this plant called portulaca or purslane.
Yeah.
Very similar texture.
Yeah. This one we have cultivated in both aquaponics and hydroponics. So being a research unit, we are interested in testing different production conditions to pass this information. So we are not producing in large scale.
Wait, how do you get up so fast? Oh my gosh.
Do like this. Put your knees on the front and come up with the foot. Yeah. Here you out.
Oh my god, I got mud all in my sleeves. Oh, we are obviously not very good at this.
Then out here. Yes. This one is Salicornia perennis. This is very similar to Salicornia. Well, it's a little bit dirty. No, it's not. It's just salt. This is eatable.
Yeah.
This is really good. So here we have Salicornia. This is the annual plant. This is from last year. And now you have the new plants popping up there and over there. And these are also eatable.
Just thinking about our project, I know we might be thinking, oh, could we grow Salicornia? But I'm not sure. It's like really cold down here. It feels like 10 to 15 degrees and the temperatures we have are like double that. So I'm not sure if this is a suitable crop to grow actually. It might not be.
These seeds need some temperature, I will call it shock, before germinating. So they need this winter effect, so the cold temperature, then lower salinity, then they start.
You know, we are working on floating farm for edible vegetables in seawater. But we want to make it not only a floating farm, but also maybe something beneficial to microhabitat or biodiversity. So, do you have some suggestion on it?
As an ecologist, I think we should get to know what are the natural systems and try to replicate these on these closed systems as much as possible. If you have 20 or 30 species, at least you should have a third of the number of species to have the same connection between species. That's the most important. One species release must be used by another species.
It's really the principle of nature-based solutions. So you try to mimic.
I think we need to go back to the drawing board, do a bit of homework, understand the environment a little bit better and what is ideal ecological situation and try to learn from that and not try to just force fit something that we see or we think that is cool into our project. Even though it is cool, so we need to observe a little bit more first. And we haven't done that yet, to be honest.
Back in Singapore, it's time to check in on our chinampas.
Oh yes! It survived! Oh, it half survived. The mints are still doing okay. So this guy's pretty dry. Oh, but there's roots. So it should be working. Let's check these guys out. There's roots too.
For the past 3 months, the entire Castaway team has been hard at work. We've broken into smaller groups to tackle specific problems.
We actually been tasked to create a floating platform and came up with this design.
This is a honeycomb structure, but for today we're only gonna do one.
Cut down.
But in the future we're gonna have multiple pieces of this and then connect together.
We're trying to test if we put weight on top of the platform, will it float and will it be balanced?
You can feel the resistance when you press it down.
That's the concept of whether a pump can work directly with a solar panel.
Our resident electrical engineers in training have been looking at solar solutions for the farm, while the horticulture team has started some crop tests.
We are testing out different plants to see if they are suitable for high heat, so that when climate change occurs, we will have reliable food source in the future.
We've been figuring out what's the best way to get fresh water for our plants.
The problem statement is to convert seawater to clean water. So this is our example. So the water will evaporate from the bottom to the top, and at the cap, it will slide down the sides, and the clean water will be at the sides of the bottom.
Slowly but surely, we've been building some momentum, and a picture of what the farm could look like is starting to take shape.
Today we're gonna gather because I want us to think deeper about the concept of what we're doing. Today I'm here with my core team and we're going to hopefully crystallize some of our thoughts into something more concrete. How do we create something to optimize for ecology?
You know, I think even if you just let seaweed grow by itself, then we can even attract like more little fishes that you know sort of feed off it.
Nicole talked about oysters, like how that's important for water quality.
Oysters always leave the environment better than before.
before they were added in. So there's two different types of methods for growing oysters. One is from the bottom, and one is basically on like mechanical structures. Yeah, that's basically how it is. Like when the tides change, then it will like.
Plants that can actually tolerate high temperatures are your millets, your barley, your rice, and back in 90 we tested 40 degrees. That's the max temperature they can go up to.
One problem that I think we still haven't really cracked is fresh water. But now, I've got a lead on a potentially game-changing solution.
Worldwide, only 10% of land is arable. So land is a problem, water is also a problem. Only 3% of the world water is fresh water. The rest are seawater, essentially. And of the 3%, 2% are trapped in glaciers. So only 1% left. 1% left, we need to drink, right? We need drinking water. But we need to produce some food as well from this water, which is challenging.
So today we're here to learn about alternative materials that we can use for our growing substrates for both terrestrial crops and halophytes.
So what we are doing is actually an innovative moisture retention solution for increasing land productivity. It's actually made from plant waste, and we call it lovingly Retensil G.
This is Retensil G in powder form. So when you add this to water, it will dissolve and turn into this. So for comparison, this is a vial of water. So you can see, you can actually just water your soil, your plants normally. But the beauty of this microgel inside is that when you water it, the microgels will sit in the soil and work its magic when the soil becomes dry.
In their test on vegetables like xiao bai cai, Professor Lam's team has been able to extend the watering frequency from once a day to once every 5 days. This translates to water savings of up to 80%.
Today we will look at zeolites and coarse sand.
Level the tube.
3, 2, 1, pour! I think this is extremely helpful and important in our project because for the floating platform, water is going to be extremely scarce out at sea.
That material, sand, right? The moment you add water, you look at the beaker, everything has come out, everything. But if you look at the one with Retensil, nothing is exiting as quickly.
Fresh water is only going to come by, especially in dry seasons, once every week or two. So it's important that we are able to hold whatever little water that we can obtain from rain.
You mentioned that the concentration was one of the parameters. Is it controlled by the ratio of the powder to the water added?
Yes.
So in a case like this, it is very extreme because we use a very high concentration of the Retensil G. So this is where the knowledge of your substrate and the plants that you are growing will come into play. You don't want to put too much of things, you don't want to have too little.
Yeah. So for us, we could think about how like in different seasons, we either mix a different substrate or modify or control the amount of Retensil G to put inside.
Yes, that's right.
Oh my gosh, so much to think about.
Yeah, a lot to think about, right?
Nicole, can you help me do the thinking and the calculation?
Okay, so we are also working on other technologies that we hope can improve the sustainability of farm operations today. So this is what farms currently are using, right? Polyurethane foams to germinate seeds, right? And this is, a synthetic plastic that is not environmentally friendly. At the same time, there's another problem, right? Which is this, feathers. We produce a lot of these chicken feathers, right? So on one hand, we're producing these materials for growing crops, and then we burn them in the end. On the other hand, we produce this as well for food needs, and we burn them as well in the end. So what we're trying to do here is to try and develop a technology that can basically kill two birds with one stone.
Professor Ng's team has been developing the technology to extract the protein called keratin from chicken feathers to produce sponges like these.
Right, so these sponges are used as a substrate to germinate seeds and grow seedlings.
We are also thinking about space and weight because the more weight we use for substrates, the heavier it will be and the more flotation we have to design and build for the platform.
And this is why we are considering using a hydroponic system where Professor Ng's work comes into play.
Nicole is very excited. Yeah. She's fulfilling her childhood dream of becoming a scientist. You should look at her face. Throughout the session, right, I was very pleased that the students were actually very interested in getting different ideas.
Is it possible to apply this on human hair?
That's a very good question. Totally possible. In fact, we originally started with using hair. We have done this with hair, we've done this with dog fur, we've done this with wool as well. All these contain the protein keratin. Wet the sponge until it's well soaked.
Now with experience of choosing these alternative materials for substrates, I think we have a clearer direction of what to grow and how to grow them. overall it's good. We are making good progress. I'm feeling a lot more confident about things.
Project Castaway has always been about preparing for the future. But I firmly believe that our floating farm can and should have impact right now. I want it to have a real user case. It should be deployed in an existing coastal community. And that's why I'm here in the eastern Malaysian state of Sabah. If this takes off, hopefully it can be replicated in the waters of Singapore too.
Over the last few days, we've visited different people living in the coastal communities, from people who forage in the sea to others who farm in the sea. After exploring multiple sites, I think I found one that I'm very happy with, and this is it.
Yeah, that's better. Now I'm gonna go. Ooh.
Whoa. Wow, what is going on? Why is it so unbalanced? I don't get it. Whoa. Whoa!
Set! Go to your